Oh my gosh, it's Saturday and it's virtual wine tasting day.
Must be 4:30.
And where are we today? It took us a long time to get there, I know that.
Today we are in Napa Valley, California, one of my favorite places on earth. It's just gorgeous there.
And why do you like it so much?
Well, because it's so beautiful. They have the most amazing wines in California and probably the world. And I lived there for 4 years, so I love the area.
Hey Dad, Philip went to college in Napa Valley. Could you imagine going to college in Napa Valley? How cool would that be? They would have had me go from college to Betty Ford Clinic, but that's, another story.
Well, that's true, but I really didn't drink that much. I learned to like wine while I was there.
I don't know if the table's not set.
I think it is.
Oh,
I think it clicked in place.
Don't lean on it.
No, it clicked in place.
Okay, that could have been a nightmare.
Anyway, I learned to like and appreciate wines in Napa and kind of became a Napa wine snob, and it took me a little while to get used to other places, which now I'm very open to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a really fun thing happen to us the other day. Our neighbor Jan, we talk about Jan a lot because she's pretty much the only person we can virtually wave to and see and know that it's not just the two of us, Mackenzie and 4 chickens. And Jan had us speak to her, ask us if we would speak to her cousin in Napa, and her cousin Pat is selling a home, and we helped her get prepared and organized for her listing appointment. And because of that, she had Jan go and deliver a bottle of her favorite wine from Napa Valley to our door with a little handwritten note and a little
totally
card that
cool.
said, "Thank you so much for counseling me last week about listing my home. Enjoy a taste of Napa." And she knew that we were thinking about doing Napa as our wine tasting tour today.
Yeah.
And so she sent us, where are we? We're
Rombauer.
at Rombauer. Okay, so most people in California know this wine because the winery, I should say, because they make what they're famous for is
their Chardonnay.
Which is it?
It's a big, buttery, double malolactic, I believe. It has malolactic fermentation for sure, and I believe double.
Oak.
It's super popular. I enjoy it.
Yep.
Mary Beth isn't as much of a fan of the malolactic, buttery types.
Right, but she must have known that because she sent us a Sauvignon Blanc, which I love.
Yes.
So this is delicious. And tell us that crazy thing you just told me about Rombauers and where they grew up and stuff.
Well, interestingly, the Rombauers, it's of German descent. His dad was from Mainz, Germany.
Okay.
But he grew up here in Escondido.
Escondido! That is too cool.
He and his wife, his wife now, Joan Rombauer, they went to school together, high school together, but they did not date. They didn't start dating until after college.
Jan, are you listening? We just were reading Pat's card that she sent us with the Rombauer, and they went to high school in Escondido and grew up here.
Went to high school here, and ended up coming back here to get married in 1972.
No way!
So they got married in Escondido. And then they were looking for some agricultural farming type space because of his history with his dad and winemaking. Well, he wasn't with his dad, but in Germany. So they were looking for a spot. So they went up and rented a property up in Napa Valley.
Okay, I just am thinking of something. Could you imagine if they would have discovered the Highland Valley in Escondido, which would have been a rediscovery from 120 some years earlier? They could have put Escondido, California on the map with their
Up in Highland Valley.
In the Highland Valley,
Yeah.
Back in the 70s.
That would have been cool.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they should come down here and pay homage to Escondido and put a Rombauer wine tasting room here in the Highland Valley. What do you think?
I think it would have been a great idea. So anyway, they rented for a while. They got involved with the winemaking people there. They actually got together with a small group and had a partnership in a winemaking thing, which they sold out about 1980. And they purchased a property of 40 acres on a big hill in in St. Helena, which is one of my favorite little towns in Napa Valley, a little hangout spot. So that's where Grgich is on the south side of St. Helena, which is a beautiful place. I'm sorry, Rombauer. We're going to Grgich next, but they both are in St. Helena actually. Yeah. Anyway, so in 1980 they harvested their first grapes, and they had Cabernet Sauvignon, which they grew the grapes actually in Stag's Leap District. and they harvested those. And in 1984, they came up with their first two releases. One was a 1980 Cabernet Sauvignon,
Okay.
and the other one was a 1982 Chardonnay.
Chardonnay. Okay.
And they both sold at that time for $12.50 a bottle.
Oh my goodness, that's wild.
Unfortunately, his wife Joan passed away in 2002, and then his name's Koner. Koner died in 2018. So now the kids run, and they were involved anyway before. So. And
it's a beautiful, beautiful winery. I've had the pleasure to go there many years ago. And Patricia, I see you, and we just wanted to say thank you for our
first tasting,
beautiful card, and our Rombauer Sauvignon Blanc. And we hope everything's going well with your listing up in Napa Valley. And anybody who's looking to purchase a property in Napa Valley, we happen to know one.
Exactly.
And so tell me a little bit about this.
So this is a 2018 Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. It's got some really good notes of some grapefruit, but also has some fresh fruit like mango, a little bit of a fresh cut grass flavor to it. So it's a little grapefruity, a little fruity, and a little grassy all at the same time. It really blends well. And
it goes really well with creamy cheeses as well as seafood.
Fish.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Salads with a nice vinaigrette on it.
Oh, like a tomato peach feta salad would be really good with
there
this.
You go. There.
So
yeah.
I'm just making stuff up. But all right, let's taste it.
Give it a try.
No, I really know that it would go with peach, tomato, and feta salad. Jan, I'll be making one of those. We have to find peaches.
That's very good. Really well balanced for Sauvignon Blanc.
Very good.
Sometimes they can be overpowering with grapefruit or the grassy part of it.
This is delicious.
This is really balanced with the other fresh fruit.
Not to offend our friend Calvin down in New Zealand, but
those New Zealand's,
those little Kiwis get a little bit green.
By the way, the wine is still super consistent with how it was before because the same winemaker that started with them in 1980 is the same one that's with them now.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And so we have a nice creamy cheese with our neighbor Chuck's kumquats that we stole off his tree. Well, we didn't steal, we got permission, but we did ask permission. So anything else we want to talk about with Rombauer?
No, cheers.
I think they should move back to Escondido, people, and at least put a winery here.
I was going to say, let's put a Southern California winery in.
That would be awesome. Okay.
All right.
So we're in Rutherford Valley.
We're in St. Helena.
St. Helena, okay. Mm-hmm. And we're staying in St. Helena?
St. Helena, we're just going to go a little bit south, but not much. Not much.
Okay, so we're going to a very special spot.
It is.
Okay. Ready?
Grgich Winery. Start telling the story.
All right. So, for any of you who know me and know me well, I am really, my last name is not Kellee. I'm hiding from the FBI. So I changed my name to protect, my identity to Kellee, but I'm really Croatian. Hence the Croatian flag right here. And my last name is, you can say it multiple ways. You can say it Kovačević, you can say it Kovačević, or you can say it Kovačević. And in Croatia, they say Kovačević.
Yeah.
And Mike Grgich, I've had the pleasure to meet him multiple times, as well as go to his Napa Valley winery and his winery in Croatia, where he makes Mali Plavak wines. And I'm going to talk a lot about the Grgich winery versus Philip, because I'm kind of like
they're cousins.
Yeah, we're related. We are related.
Anybody from Croatia is her cousin.
So,
which, by the way, there are Kovačevićes that are friends of mine up in the Central Valley.
They're probably my cousins.
Abby Kovačević and her family.
They're probably my cousins. Yeah. And Philip Fredrickson found me these beautiful sunflowers today. They're really pretty. So anyway, Michael Grgich is famous for something very, very big. And he used to be the winemaker for Chateau Montelena. And he made a Chardonnay wine that they took to France. Now remember, he's wearing his beret and he's in the wine, vault, making wine in the cave. And Beau, the Chateau Montelena owner, goes to France, and the blind tasting, Michael Grgich's Chardonnay won
Shock of the
entire
century.
world, and that is what helped it put Napa Valley on the map.
Absolutely put it on.
And there's a movie out, you guys can look for it on Netflix, called Bottle Shock. Maybe you've seen it before.
Interesting. It's
But-
right up there with Sideways.
But it's more the story of the family and less the story of Mike Grgich and his talent and what he did. But in the background, every now and again, you'll see this man with big hands and this beret, because Mike Grgich is famous for wearing his beret.
Still wears it.
And he still wears it.
We
And
were
he-
just up there, and we missed him by like an hour or something.
He was
like
born
that.
in 1923. He's 97 years old, and when the winery is open, which last year when we went, he was still visiting the winery like 2 or 3 times a week. His daughter Violet and her husband, I think, are the winemakers now, if I'm not mistaken. Violet is. And the other thing that's really cool is when I was in Croatia, I called him up and I said, "Oh my gosh, are you coming to Croatia? I'm at your winery. It would be so cool for you to be here." And he goes, "Oh, no more traveling. I'm never going on a plane like that. Never, never." Well, he was best friends with Robert Mondavi, like best friends. You'd think they'd be competitors, but they weren't. They were legendary best friends. And Robert Mondavi died a couple years ago, a few years back. And when he passed away, Mike Grgich got on a plane with his caretaker and flew to Croatia, where he was honored by the country. And I just think it's so cool that he got to go back there and he got to experience that and really get to see a country that I think is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And if you haven't been there, it's like God broke a china platter and made all of these beautiful islands in the Adriatic Sea. And the Adriatic Sea is still one of the cleanest seas in the world. And the people that you meet there and the lifelong relationships, I literally left my handbag on a chair one day at a cafe and I got caught up in the moment of seeing somebody, and probably somebody with my last name that I ran up to and told them they were related to me, which I did to everybody. But just kind and good people. They really are amazing people. And they almost won that World Cup soccer. It was like a heartbreaking moment.
Great final championship
But
match.
we did win to France, which is my other beloved country because of Elaine. So tell me, because I've been talking a lot. Tell me a
Well, that's
little bit
okay.
about this.
So after he won that award, he went off on his own and he met up with some friends of his, which is an interesting story. I didn't know this side of it, but a good friend of his name was Austin Hills, and his sister Mary Jane Hills, who are from
Hills Coffee.
Hills Brothers Coffee. And the three of them partnered up and they started Grgich. And they started
Grgich
on
Hills.
Grgich Hills, on Independence Day. So July 4, and it was 1977, the year I graduated from college or graduate school. Could have been high school.
Whoa.
No, I'm kidding, it was high school. So 1977, it was a very good year. But anyway, so interestingly with Rombauer, that was not around yet. I graduated in, I guess I'm giving it all away, in 1981. So I finished in the summer of 1981. And Grgich, really, their first wine release was in 84. So Rombauer. So I was not able to see that. But Grgich, yes. So that was good.
So this is a bottle of Chardonnay, and you can see in the corner right there is the red and white checkers of the Croatian flag. So, to my knowledge, my mom and dad, my grandparents, I should say, they came here from what we believe is Zagreb and the Dalmatian coast, which is where Dubrovnik is. And they met and married, and they had, I think 7 or 8 kids. Oh my gosh, I can't remember how many aunts and uncles I had. But I'm the youngest grandchild of the entire family, and I'm the only one that has ever gone to Croatia. And
You've
I've
gone
multiple
numerous times.
yeah. So I think it's just amazing, and I hope that the rest of my family that will someday do that, because
Our plan was actually before this COVID thing is that we were going to go there this year.
exactly.
But it'll have to wait another year, I guess.
So there's a reason why I'm going to like the Chardonnay. So tell me why.
Okay, so the reason is this is done in a really traditional fashion without manipulating it with malolactic fermentation.
Okay.
So it has its normal acidity, so it's a little more fruit forward. It doesn't have that buttery aspect to it. And it's not very oaky as well, which I don't mind oak, and I don't mind butter, and I don't mind oaky butter.
I'm not a butter bomb girl.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's give it a try.
All right. Cheers. And hang on. In Croatia, they would say Givale.
Givale.
Or they'd say Ostravia because, you know, the Yugoslavian roots as well. Hey, Paul Quinn. Hey, Deborah, who has Westies. Mackenzie's like hiding out right now because sometimes she barks at Joe next door, and poor Joe, he's like 89 years old and he has a little old dog, and Mackenzie does not like that dog. So, hi Megan. All right, I'm gonna taste it.
All right.
And we have
very good.
a very nice pairing, which I'm gonna talk about in a few minutes, but this is fresh fish right off the boat.
Which she'll tell all about later.
Want to taste?
Yeah.
Okay. So really, really good with fatty fishes. With some other things that it's good with. Oh, look at this salmon is raw.
Creamy cheeses, grilled pork, roasted chicken.
Oh my God, that's like butter. No, that I like, buttery, but not this. This is really good.
That almost tastes like salmon belly. It was really
I
fatty.
know, it's really fatty and good. From our fishermen down at the Driscoll's pier. So,
actually, Chula this time. Driscoll's pier, but
hang on, I gotta think if there's anything else to say about this crazy man. He's a flirt, for sure.
Isn't every 97-year-old man?
What else about Grgich? I was just looking. I posted 5 unique things about Mike Grgich on my Facebook page. Yeah, so he's a pretty cool dude. So, and I'm going to need a new Croatian flag. This one's getting a little sad looking. It probably has tears from when they lost the World Cup to France. All right, so where are we headed now?
I think we're headed for a little fashion show.
Okay.
All right.
So, I'm out of kimonos, but I do have a signature dress on from Chateau Belage. So this is a cool dress. I love it. It's super comfortable, and I'm wearing inside house shoes, which I'm digging because I'm finally in heels, which feels so good. I think I said to Philip I might not be able to wear heels very much longer, or I need practice.
That'll be the day.
I know. All right, so we are now headed over to
Robert Mondavi.
So we leave Mike Grgich to go to his best friend, Robert Mondavi.
Which is kind of halfway between St. Helena, might still considered be St. Helena, but on the way towards Rutherford and Yountville.
Might need to move our
Is that good?
gears. Yep.
Okay.
Just doing a little table switching. Okay. So now we're at Mondavi's.
Robert Mondavi.
All right.
Started in 1966. You might think that that was the oldest one, but no. There's older ones, and we're going to visit one after this one. So anyway, that's when it was established. Robert Mondavi, they started, it's called Two Callon Vineyard, is what the first property they purchased, Two Callon. And there's some interesting things about that. That actually in Greek, in ancient Greek, that means the highest beauty. Which is kind of cool, right?
Okay.
One of the things that Robert Mondavi, he was a real student of the whole process of growing soils and every aspect of winemaking. One of the things he discovered was there was a difference between how they were growing wines here in California and in Europe. And in California, they typically have all the vines planted 8 to 12 feet apart from one another.
Okay.
And in Europe, it's much closer together. And so what he did is he established a 4x4. So it's 4x4x4, all the way, everything's 4 feet apart. And what it did is it made the vines struggle for nutrients more, and it made it more complex. The berries were smaller, had much more complexity, and much bigger fruit flavor. And he found that was the best thing. So the Callon Vineyard, that's a real specialty vineyard for them. And now they've got huge vineyards all over everywhere. But that's the kind of key to this one. So this is not from Callon Vineyard, this particular one, but this is a great one. But Mary Beth might have a comment about that before we get there.
I'm not sure I did.
Okay.
He's the guy. I told you he's taking us on the tour.
So this is a 2016 Cabernet Sauvignon. This wine and our next one's Cabs. For me personally, that's my favorite varietal. If I had to choose one, this would be it. So I kind of hijacked the show a little bit there with Cabernet Sauvignon.
He's the one playing in it.
But this one you can tell by the look of it, it's really dark fruit. So it's really dark. And this one has even some espresso aromas to it, black currant, but it also has a little bit fresher fruit, but it's really intense. So it's It does have a little wood. It's not oak though. It's a cedar.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
cedar. Hey, dude,
Yeah.
you owe me
Good
a Coke.
job.
I don't drink Coke, but you owe me one. It's so funny. We both smelled cedar at the same time.
Well, that's good. I like that. Interestingly, Mondavi, they have a really good variety of wines. I mean, lots of different things. Super high end, but they have some lower end things too for people to, if you're brand new at wine, you have to kind of develop a taste.
Now,
It took me a long time when I was in college. I did a lot of wine tasting
Did they
before I
not
actually learned to
have white
appreciate it.
Zinfandel back in the day? Were they white Zinfandel?
They probably had it, but Behringer's was most
Oh,
known for their
got it,
white
got it,
Zin.
got it. Okay.
You could still get it for like $3.95 a bottle. No, I'm kidding. It's
So,
still more than that,
with
but not much.
this, because this is big. This is a
This is a
big
big
cap. So this is like a tomahawk steak. It's a giant spicy pork chop on the grill. It's some
You smell the
fatty,
the chocolate in
raw. So this is like Roquefort and some prosciutto. We have some chocolate acai berries right here, which would be really good. Bitter dark chocolate would be delicious with this. What else does it say? What's the other thing?
That's it.
Oh, on the food pairings?
I didn't write the food pairings down.
Oh, he was relying on me to do that.
Well, it's a big red wine, so we always know it goes with red meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Big,
Or spicy.
Even
Anything
that, a big
spicy.
fatty red meat like a ribeye.
Okay. Very, very nice. So from here, Robert Mondavi. So remember, he is Mike Grgich. They were best friends, and they're legends. And there's a lot of good stories about the two of them that you can Google and read about. And now we're headed to
the very north end of. Actually, it's interesting. It's way north of, not way north of. It's way on the north side of St. Helena.
Okay.
It's like literally an eighth of a mile from the turnoff on Howell Mountain Road that you drive up to get to the college where I went to. Howell Mountain is a huge wine growing region, and the campus of my college, which was only 1,800 students. And it was primarily everything pre-medical, anything, pre-med, pre-dent, nursing, all that.
How come you're not a doctor?
And business.
Okay.
Actually, my junior year, I almost switched. My dad talked me out of it. My dad was a physician. And he says, you don't want to be a doctor. It's not like in
Right now, I wish he was a hairdresser and knew how to do nails. That's what he should have gone to school for. Screw the medical thing. Oh my God, I love all of our doctors and nurses on the front line. Of course I do. But I mean,
but
right
hair,
now, dude,
come on.
Right now, dude, I need you to give like hair and nails. That would be awesome. All right, so what else about your
So
school?
I'm loving that almost all these wineries are right in the heart of St. Helena, because oh my gosh, I had so much fun in St. Helena when I was in college.
So what else?
And I'm not talking about just wineries.
What else about your school?
Well, the school, it has 1,800 students, so it was all those pre-med things in business, and I was there for business.
Okay.
So I had to study a lot, and because I took 2 majors and finished in 4 years, so I had to go like 18 units a semester for 4 years straight, including summers. And so for me to relax and get away from all that hubbub, I would go down the hill and go to wineries. Even when I didn't even enjoy wine, it was very fascinating, the winemaking process to me. I only learned to like wine along the way. It was just an escape for me, so it was really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, and in my college, it was a Christian college, and if you were caught at a winery, you were kicked out of school. So it helped. I dated a girl who worked for.
You dated somebody before me?
Just
How
one.
dare he?
Anyway,
Oh my
she
gosh, I'm
worked for
shocked.
security, and then I played on the tennis team, and so I had a tennis sticker on there, but it wasn't the school tennis sticker; it was from my tennis club. And I put it over the parking sticker because they'd cruise through the parking lots looking for college parking stickers, and they would write it down, and they would
I've seen
send
photos.
it to the chancellor.
That is when the guys that played tennis used to wear those really, really, really short shorts, like so obsessive, obscenely short. You totally did.
Well,
it was hilarious.
Well, I played on the basketball team too, and those shorts were not quite as short, but almost.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're like down below their knee, but
So we're headed now
to the north part of St. Helena.
Okay. I love these. By
Still
the way.
on the west side. All these have been on the west side. None of them have been on the Silverado 12 trail. They've all been on the 12th.
Okay.
And we're going to stick to that side. But we may do another episode that we go all up the Silverado Trail where
Let's
we've got
hope we don't do another episode, because if we don't do another episode, that means we've been released from prison.
That's true.
Correct?
True,
right?
true. Yeah.
Although we've been enjoying doing these.
But oh my gosh, there's some great wineries up the trail.
That's true. We didn't do Stag's Leap yet.
Silverado, Chimney Rock. I don't know if any of you like Chimney Rock wines. When I was in college there was no Chimney Rock winery. It was a golf course. I used to play golf there.
Their wines are okay now.
I think they have good wines.
Yeah.
I like Chimney Rock cabs. Yeah.
Don't they have Farniente there?
It's up that. They have Stag's Leap.
I love Stag's Leap.
They also have Mums.
Cake bread.
Mums if you like, champagne.
Yep. And what's that
Or sparkling
winery,
wine.
like when you come into the valley, that has sparkling wine at the top that I love?
Oh, that's on the 12. That's Chandon.
I love
Chandon's
Chandon.
good too.
So nice.
That's when you go wine tasting. You want to hit 4 wineries. You start at 10 a.m. The first one you go to is Champagne because it's just like a mimosa almost.
I know.
So it's okay to drink before 12 if it's champagne.
So typically we try to support small businesses that are local, but Patricia, our neighbor Jan's cousin, lives in Napa, and with all the fires and everything that's happened to the Napa Valley area, they need our help. So there's a lot of great wines that you can buy now from the wineries directly that have great discounts and pricing. So if you feel the love, you should definitely go online and order some of your favorite wines from Napa Valley, because now's the time. And you're supporting them. We need everybody to reopen so everyone can start earning their incomes and us being able to enjoy. So today we thought it would be fun. We wish we were out in the backyard because it's so beautiful out, but our internet connection is a little dicey.
Something's up. We have to get him back out here. But
so here
anyway,
we go.
before we leave, cheers to all of my alma mater classmates or anybody who was in the school or attended the same school.
His is grape juice. Remember, he doesn't drink.
I just wanted one more taste of the wine before we moved on.
And now we are headed.
We're headed to Behringer's.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Behringer, I've been there and multiple times, and I got to go up into the secret tasting room, which was so cool, and the caves that were built. Yeah, this needs to go a little bit further back, Philip.
Does it? All right.
All right.
That's right. I think we figured that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we are at Behringer, which is like this crazy old winery, and you've got all kinds of data. Tell us.
Well, this was one of my favorite hangouts when I did go wine tasting. These are people that really taught me to like wine. Every time I go, they knew because I didn't drink really. So they'd be like, Phil, look, you have to try this one wine. Just give it a taste. I think you're going to like this, and I usually didn't. But this one, this is the oldest continuously operating winery in Napa Valley.
Wow.
Yeah, and Jacob and Frederick Behringer, they came here in 1868 and started it, and it's been operating ever since.
Was there, all right, I'm going to throw you off maybe.
Okay.
Was there like a feud between the brothers and they split off?
I don't think that was them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that was
Well, I'm
them.
about to taste it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Anyway, it has been designated not only a national landmark, but well, not only California, but a national. So it is a historic landmark, and part of it is there's an interesting story. There's a building on the property. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The name of it.
Column something?
I don't think I wrote it down either.
It begins with a C.
Can't remember.
Okay.
Anyway, it's this 2-story house, which now is actually the reserve tasting room in the upstairs. Yeah. So it's a 2-story house, and it's beautiful and it's very European. And the reason it's European is because it used to be in Germany. So what they did is they took this house in Germany, disassembled it piece by piece, shipped it over here, and rebuilt it on the property there right there in St. Helena.
That's why.
So it's super cool.
And tell us like the caves that were built.
Well, okay, so the caves were built, and I'm not going to say how it was built, but they dug them out into the hillside, huge caves, like wander all the way through. There's literally thousands of barrels of wine that they store in there. It's unbelievable.
How cool is that?
Yeah, they initially bought 215 acres right there, but then they and we'll talk about it in just a second there. Because there were some things that happened along the way. But there actually is some history to this, because this is, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I thought this is a better time to do it. interestingly, when I was in Napa living there, for every winery that existed there, I kid you not, there is well over 100 wineries for everyone that was there in 1981.
Now versus.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of little micro wineries. I mean, they're like Pijou. There was no Pijou there. There was no Opus there. Those all came after the fact, after I left. But I did send both my kids to school there for a time, and of course I went back up to visit them and got to go see all the new ones. So that was kind of a little foresighted on my part. But there's history to this, because what happened is, this is big business, and it's expensive business. And a lot of the family wineries ended up selling out to big corporations. Like one of my favorites used to be up there was Sterling. And some of you who know Sterling, it's just a little bit north of St. Helena, and there's in the middle of the valley between the 12 and the Silverado Trail, there's kind of like a little mountain there. And the winery was built up on the top of the hill, and they have a gondola that goes up the hill to the winery. Super cool, awesome. That winery got sold out to the same people who bought out also Boilo Vineyards, BV. Some of you know them. Actually, the wine that made me like red wines was a BV George de la Tour, 1986, that a good friend of mine, Andy and Sandy, gave me a taste of. And I just kept telling them, don't waste it on me. That's a good wine. It was an old wine.
That's fine.
And it changed my palate. I loved red wines after that.
He's lucky, because I would not have been able to be with him if he didn't know.
Oh, by the way, that house is called the Rhine House.
The Rhine House. Okay.
Yeah.
You remember.
I did.
Okay.
So anyway,
this is smart.
So they ended up selling, the first people that Jacob and Frederick sold to was Nestle.
As in Nestle Quick?
Nestle Quick. Well, it wasn't them themselves, but it was the Beringer family, because there'd been several generations between 1868 and Nestle's that owns, part of Nestle Quick. So that happened in 1971. Then they held it until 1996, and they sold it to another group, a Texas investment group that went public.
Are we still talking about Beringer?
Beringer.
Wow.
And it's actually now owned by Treasury Wine Estates, and I think they own several other wineries in Napa. So a lot of wineries you go to, it's kind of interesting now, because if you go to a tasting, like at what was the one I was just telling you about up on the hill? It was Sterling. They'll give you a 2-for-1 tasting to go to BV and several others that they own. So it's interesting, but they've kept the winemakers at most of them, so the consistency of the wines are still mostly
That's
good.
Important.
Yeah,
That's
mostly
important.
good.
So what are we drinking?
So this one is Knights Valley.
Okay.
This is a 2017 cab. Huh?
You done with this?
Yeah, I don't need it.
Okay, yeah.
That's just in case I couldn't remember things, which always happens. So anyway, 2017 Knights Valley. It's about 17 miles north of the actual winery, which is on the north side of St. Helena. So they own about 600 acres of vineyards there, which is where this is produced. And they are the ones that brought that area of Napa to light, because they did that back in the 60s, where they bought that property.
All right.
So, a lot of these wineries own thousands of acres, all over, down to Cañeros and different places. A lot of you have had those. So, like Pinots grow really well in Cañeros, but so of course they're going to buy some property down there to grow so they can have a good Pinot.
Okay.
So anyway, this is a very good wine. They make this in a reserve, which is I found to be really, really good, and I'm interested to try this one. I don't think I've had the 17.
Smells amazing.
That's very good.
I wish you guys could taste these things. Tastes very, very good.
They can.
That's true. So again, food with us would be,
same as
your big, it's
most
cab,
cabs,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you would think of with a cab, Chateau, Briand, which I've never made. Oh my God, but that has dough, so I can't make it.
Yeah, you can.
No, it means baking. I can't make anything that I have to bake. So that is delicious.
Yeah, it's very good.
Okay. And anything else about this fabulous Napa Valley that you want to share with everybody? Other than we can't wait to go.
I just
Let's go to Napa.
love going there. I get so excited just to go up in the area. It brings back so many good memories. I mean, man, just having been there, you learn a side of that area, living there that you don't normally see from a lot of the locals. You've experienced that.
Yeah. My first experience going to Napa was when I was with Shiseido Cosmetics, and there were 2 car full of us training directors, and we crossed over the San Francisco Bridge and we drove into Napa, and we ended up at Cake Bread last, and we lost our keys. And the owner invited us to stay, and it was like a crazy thing. And it was one of the first times I ever had risotto, and it was amazing. We had I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It was there forever in Napa Valley, so I'll have to think about it. But we had an amazing experience, and that was my first time ever in Napa Valley, and I just love it. I could live there. If
you do get up to Napa Valley, think about staying in Calistoga. They have like amazing mineral baths and all kinds of stuff, and it's just a quaint, cute little place.
Mud baths once. They use like a fire hose to clean you off. It is. I was with one of my girlfriends, and the guys were golfing and the gals were doing this, and I looked at her, she looked at me, and we laughed so hard we were crying. I thought it was gonna drown in this ginormous mud bath. Never will I do it again. It was not my vibe. I mean, I used to eat mud pies when I was little, but taking a mud bath is not my thing. So what do you think we're gonna have tonight for dinner?
Well, what's cooking? I don't know.
So, I have to give
I have a feeling I know.
some serious shout-outs right now. So I'm not going to do my cooking thing, but I'm going to tell you that Philip Frederickson.
This is my escape
Okay,
clause.
this is black cod, and it is marinating in Chef James from The Huntress gave me a recipe for his miso. So the black cod is marinating, and black cod we got yesterday. Call in your order to Chula Seafood. They are located not in Chula Vista, they are located in Point Loma, and order your fresh fish. You could do everything.
It's right by Pizza Nova.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Right? And then we got salmon, and it's literally sushi grade salmon. So the piece that we just tasted earlier with the Chardonnay, and then I have 2 fillets ready for another day. And then this is ahi. Okay.
Again, sushi grade.
So this morning I pretty much bastardized cutting it because I don't know how.
And you might not have the right knife.
Yes, I do. I have my Cutco knives. So we're gonna have salmon 3 ways. We're gonna have salmon one night seared. We have sashimi salmon, and then we're gonna do salmon skin. I did successfully get the skin off the salmon. So 27,000 pounds of fresh seafood. People have been messaging me and asking me. So a few things. You can go to Dockside Harbor, which is located by Seaport Village. When you pull into Seaport Village, you turn right. And tons of the fishermen have crazy amounts of fish up. Tommy Gomes goes live multiple times. He's our fishmonger.
Every morning, practically.
Every day, multiple times a day, just trying to give love to our fishermen. You can call Point Loma Seafood. You can call Mitch's Seafood. Mitch's Seafood did this red rock fish that is like this orangey colored fish that he did dinners to go the other day. He does crab boils. Chula Seafood, again, you can order from there. Curbside pickup, Venmo them the amount.
Super easy to deal with.
And I think if you order from Harwood, you can actually order $75 or more, and they'll deliver within a 50-mile radius. So support our local fishermen. We've got Kalala's candle burning. We're picking up some Lick It lollipops from our friend Megan this week.
Those were a big hit last time we gave those. That's got me excited to give those out again.
So again, our genesis of doing this and my original genesis of doing all these crazy little shows were to check in on everybody, but most importantly to make sure that all of our friends and people out there are doing well. And Randy Driscoll, I saw you pop in, and Randy does a show. I think today was her 57th episode, every single day at 4 p.m. Pacific time. She lives in Nashville, and she has all kinds of guests on and musicians, and she has her daughter Skylar living in the house. And her husband, Andrew.
He's made 2 of my favorite drinks lately, cocktails.
Yes. Yesterday, I talked to Johnny Tarr, a musician that lives here in San Diego. He performs live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. from his garage.
No, on Tuesdays I think it's like at
Oh,
2.
It's at 2 on Tuesday.
So that his peeps back in
The UK
London,
and
UK
Wales
can
see.
watch.
You're right.
Yeah.
Leak Coulter, again, local performer. Jay Rodriguez, Queer Eye for a Straight Guy. All these people are unemployed at the moment, and a lot of them are not receiving any stimulus package. So
Most of them.
share the love. You know, order some food. Specialty Produce is popping with good produce. They also sell a lot of other items. So
Also Cyclops.
Cyclops Farm in Oceanside. And tomorrow we've got a secret place we're going to go and do a Facebook Live video. 5 p.m. tomorrow. I can't wait. All right. Stay physically distant while staying socially connected, and we'll touch base with you later. And thank you guys. We appreciate it. Love you.
Love you guys.
Mwah.
Her too. I love her too.